Hey everybody, Ryan Molly here, and welcome to Hey Sawbones, My Story, My Passion. This week's guest, he is kind of like a potpourri, bowl of potpourri, because he's done everything. He was a police officer for close to 20 years, real estate investor, has over 30 units with real estate. He started a credit improvement type of business as well to help people with credit, help to get loans. And he recently started like a logistics company with moving produce around from California, Florida, Mexico. So super interesting guy, very entrepreneurial, very business minded. He's got a great head on his shoulders, unbelievable family. And we grew up, in the same area, Townville, Pennsylvania. Tons of respect for him. So stay tuned. Mike Burrows is coming your way. Have a great one.
All nurses to the nurses station.
Lawless country people are real close family. Lately some of my kinfolk don't get around too good, you see. When that doctor asked them, son, how'd you get in this condition? They says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. They want to know, Doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.
Hey everybody, Dr. Ryan Molly here, and welcome to Hey Sawbones, My Story, My Passion. I'm your host, orthopedic surgeon, cutter of bones, entrepreneur, businessman, but most importantly, loving husband and father of 3 very busy boys. So today I'm really excited to be able to share this guest. He's been a friend for, probably 30 some years. Another local boy from Townville, Pennsylvania. And we've played a lot of basketball together over the years in 3-on-3 tournaments. We've remained friends over that 30-year period. And he's had a lot of different occupations, which is what really interests me about him, because he spent some time as an Erie police officer, almost 20 years. And I'm going to let you hear a lot more about him and what he currently does and his path on that way to success straight from his mouth. So without further ado, Mr. Mike Burrows. How are you, bud?
Good, buddy. How you doing, man?
Great. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So as we always start these out, I'd like to give our audience kind of a sneak peek into who Mike Burrows is, like where you're from, where you grew up, and maybe a little bit about your family.
Well, that'll hit close to home. I'm from the same town as you, Maplewood, Townville. I always like to say we couldn't even think of a name for our town, so it's Townville, where we're from.
Center of the universe, right?
Yeah. But I remember I actually met you a little bit later around high school time, because I kind of moved all around. I was from Townville, Pleasantville, and my mom and we moved away over to Ohio for a while, but I came back in 10th grade. And that's actually when I met you through our friend Ryan Ray, and started playing basketball together. And but Townville, small town.
And Ryan was actually one of the guests on the podcast, and the 3 of us have remained close.
Yeah.
Usually a couple times a year, we try to get together and grab a couple beers, maybe have some wings, and maybe watch some football.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, are you thirsty?
I am thirsty.
So as you guys all know, I always ask my guests, what's your favorite, drink? It doesn't have to be an alcoholic beverage, but oftentimes it is. I'd say 99% of the time.
You got me here.
So Mike has a very similar palate to mine. We both are IPA guys. So today I'm going to do one of my favorite IPAs. You kind of, again, shared the same thing, because there's a lot of IPAs out there that are very fruity.
Yeah.
That is not my style.
Yeah, me neither.
at all. I'm more of like a West Coast IPA guy.
Yeah.
So I got us some Dogfish Head 60-minute.
Wow, that's a good one. I like that.
All right, let's do it. Okay.
All right.
So, Mike, you kind of know the format. We've gone through this before. 6 questions. Hold that. I'll get you open here in just a second.
All right.
6 questions. We do 3 business questions first, and then 3 personal questions. I always have my kind of guests go first, and then we'll switch the tables. I'll ask you questions, and then we'll do a couple other fun things, and just let it go where it goes. This is very raw, very genuine, very authentic. There's very little editing that goes on. The one caveat is that you can veto one question if you don't like it.
Okay.
But you'd be the first ever. So
Okay.
this is episode 16, by the way, and we've never had anybody veto a question. I think there's been a couple close calls, but cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man. I love this beer. It's a good one.
It is a really good one. I actually like this better on tap than bottle.
right.
But
So one thing I was thinking about, Ryan, on the way over here is how when let's see, be in our 20s, like I worked all through my 20s, and you were in school pretty much until you were 30, and you actually came and lived with me for a year, and you lived in my basement. I had to finish.
not a
basement.
year. It was about 2.5 months.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, maybe 3 because it
seemed
was
like a long time.
it was actually July, August, September. It was my first 3 months that I was supposed to be doing a pediatric orthopedic rotation, and a lot of people would go like to Cincinnati, very big for orthopedics, pediatrics, and I knew I was going to do adult reconstruction. It was my last year of my residency, and we had Shriners Hospital in Erie, and I said, you know what? I know what I'm going to do with my career. I don't need to be pinning all these supracondylar elbow fractures and these kids are doing these long spine cases. So yeah, you and your wife, Jess, were gracious enough to host me, but that was 2009 from July till July, August, September.
That was a good time.
It was.
We had a good time.
We did. I remember getting it on your boat and things
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, you were right. I mean, you were well into your career at that point.
Yeah, and I remember thinking like, it's like you gave up your 20s. Like, I know you guys sacrifice so much when you become a doctor. I mean, 10 years of college. I was already, everybody wants to get out and make money and have cars and have things. And I remember wanting to get out of college. I just wanted to go to work and I don't know. It's just something weird that doctors give up their 20s.
Yes, I was actually 32 when I got my first real job, and I did not take 1 week off, month off from any schooling. It was straight through 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, 5 years of residency, and then I did an additional fellowship in adult reconstruction. So
yeah, it's a massive. I mean, it literally is a massive sacrifice.
It's 14 years beyond high school.
Yeah. No, thank you.
But then you're like still learning, right? Like it's not like you come out and because they don't teach you anything business related. And the first couple of years, you're like, where'd my security blanket go? Where's my pacifier? Because I always had an attending that I could bounce things off.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's how it is. I went to college to be a police officer, and you don't really learn anything in college. The first day you get on the streets when you learn about that. But
yeah,
same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, business question.
Sure.
All right. So, as far as your business, I'm more interested in because you're a doctor, but you're not now. You're like literally, truly a business owner, an entrepreneur. So, how did you or when did you decide you wanted to be a business owner as opposed to a doctor?
Well, I'm still a physician, right? First and foremost, once you're a physician, you're always a physician, and my primary job is an orthopedic surgeon. I mean, I'm very busy with. I operate 3, sometimes 4 days a week, and I do clinic at least 2 days a week. But it was pretty early on that I realized that I was not employable. My first year of practice, I was part of a private practice, but I was employed. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a hospital administrator over top of me telling me what to do. I had senior partners. I was not a business partner at that point, but I was employed, or a lot of people would call like an associate physician. So I had no business stake. I had no investment in it. I was, practicing alongside other physicians, and they ran the practice. Years 2 and 3, I decided.
Where was that at?
That was in Michigan.
Michigan, okay.
My first 4.5, almost 5 years were in Michigan in practice. And I had done my residency there. And for 1 year, I went to Columbus with my wife, Karen, did a fellowship, but then we came back in 2011 to practice medicine there. And then my years 2 and 3, I decided to become hospital employed. It was kind of like the thing that people were doing at that point. I saw, hey, it's an opportunity to make a lot more money. I just didn't realize what it was. And it was essentially putting a fish hook in you from every single angle, putting handcuffs on you, and not allowing you to do what you were really trained to do. Now, granted, I had very, very little business knowledge at that point, but I would say within the first week of that 2-year stint, I realized I did not like being employed. Hospital
Was
employed.
that down in Meadville?
Nope, this is all in Michigan.
Oh,
This is
still in
all in Michigan. So, but I didn't leave my actual practice. So I still practice alongside the other physicians. And it worked out for the practice because the hospital that employed me paid the practice for rent, for x-rays. They would pay for my staff. So the practice made out financially. But I absolutely hated it because I was being told what to do by hospital administrators that had absolutely zero clinical knowledge. They'd never been in the trenches. They were sitting around, big conference tables talking about how can we save a buck, which generally meant that a patient was going to get a lesser quality surgery, implant experience. And I just did not like it at all. And I had hospital administrators telling me, oh my gosh, you're losing us money. I'm like, I am not stupid. No, I do not have a business degree, but I realize that orthopedics and spine surgery generate the most amount of revenue for any hospital, hands down, of any subspecialty. And we're talking tens of millions of dollars that we're generating for the hospital.
And they were saying that you were losing them money.
Yeah.
Really what they meant is you could be making more money and you're not making us more money because you couldn't have been losing them money.
No, I think that they were just flat out lying to me to try to like get me to motivate me to do more. And it was like run faster on the treadmill when I was busting my butt. I was going out in the community. I was doing community seminars. So long story short, I said, this is not for me. So I went year 4 back into private practice and I became a partner at the same practice that I never left. I knew the guys there. I liked the guys there. They were all older, and 2 of them were in their late 60s. I think one was in his early 70s, and one was in his mid to late 40s. So I was definitely the young guy. I was 35, 36 at that point. Became a partner, and then literally a couple months later, then opportunity in Meadville came up for me, and that took me a couple months. My wife and I to kind of deliberate what we wanted to do. And then we decided to move to Meadville. It was another employed position, but not hospital employed. I never was hospital employed again. I did that once, and I was never going to do it again. It was private practice employed for 2 years. And then I started to realize that like even that wasn't allowing me to really do things the way that I wanted to do them. There was extreme jealousy. It just wasn't healthy. And I didn't feel like I had a true partner in that practice. So I kind of decided to go out on my own and start my own practice. And that's when Dr. Fredneck came out of retirement, joined me, and we've been together ever since. And at this point, I now have over 30 employees, 5 of which are orthopedic surgeons and 5 of which are mid-levels. So 4 PAs and 1 nurse practitioner. So yeah, well, I'm still a physician, very much first and foremost, but over the years, I realized that I really do enjoy business, and I really, for my patient's sake, I want to be able to offer the best experience to them possible. And the only way that I can truly do that is if I'm controlling the ship.
Yeah. So do you have an office manager, or who's actually like doing the payroll, the things like that? That's I mean, you're still a surgeon.
Yeah.
And you have to focus on that. I would imagine there's training.
Yes. So I have I have a leadership team. So I have a chief financial officer / business manager. He's great. His name's Sean McKinnon. Hopefully we're going to get him on the podcast. I was hanging out with him last night. Yeah.
Nice guy.
And just recently. So Sean, he's the guy that runs all the books. He does all the payroll, everything like that. He's he's an accountant by trade. And then I have like office clinical managers. So they're kind of in charge of making sure that the staff are doing what they're supposed to be doing, controlling their schedules, making sure that if they have vacation time, that 2 or 3 people aren't taking vacation at the same time, controlling kind of the flow of the patients, I have a marketing director. She does an amazing job. She's deeply involved in the podcast and pretty much a lot of other side projects that I do, but she does all the marketing for the practice, all the social media for the practice. I have a great group of people around me, but truly like office manager, it's still me. Like nothing happens unless unless I give it the final stamp of approval, because I'm the only investor. I'm the only owner of the practice, and it's my baby. So I can't just like say, go run the practice how you want to.
Right. And that's I have several businesses that I run, and I've learned slowly, but now very quickly as I start new businesses is you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
And if, I've had employees before that were just dragging everybody down, but they were hard workers. But man, I tell you what, it only takes one.
It's like a bad apple in the barrel, right?
It's a bad apple, and it really does corrupt all of them. And they always say, like, in business, you should always cut your lowest 10% every year, and it keep improving everything. But I was wondering how you were operating on people and running a business at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it was very challenging, and especially right out of the gates, because I started a practice in my late 30s with zero business training whatsoever. It was just like, I know how to be an orthopedic surgeon. I had a lot of great mentors along the way in terms of like where I did my fellowship. They were extremely business savvy, but I never really sat down with them and like picked their brains. It was more like observation. I was watching everything. I'm always very detail oriented, and I'm kind of just seeing how are people doing this. And one of the things is exactly what you said, is like making sure that you have the key players, like a football team. You have your head coach, and that's me. But you have your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, your special teams coordinators, and the head coach can't do all that.
And you have to let them work.
Yes, you have to empower them, and you have to let them do. Now, you give them guidance, you give them direction, but they have to do it the way that they're comfortable doing it. You can't micromanage.
Right. So, can I move on to my second question? So, the next question, I might word this wrong, okay? But explain the dynamic, because you told me something before, and it's always struck with me. Explain the dynamic of how UPMC Surgery Center doesn't own you. And what I mean is, you had said a lot of doctors are owned by the insurance companies, and you started your own thing. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So, particularly, I mean, I wouldn't just say in this area, but we'll use this general geographic area. Northwest Pennsylvania is a great example of this. So, the two primary commercial payers are UPMC and Highmark, Allegheny Health Network. Right. They own hospitals, which, I mean, I may offend people, but I doubt I will. That should be highly illegal. That is a conflict of interest. There's no other way to say it.
So you're saying the insurance company owns the hospital?
They do.
So any doctor that works for the hospital has to do with the insurance company?
Any doctor that's employed by the hospital is a UPMC employee. Any doctor at St. Vincent that's employed by St. Vincent is actually employed by Allegheny Health Network, which is an insurance company. It's Highmark.
So I think the thing there is employed versus subcontracted.
Or private. I'm private. So I'm my own boss. I have contracts with those insurance providers. So if you had UPMC insurance, you could still come to me. Now, my rates are going to be less than what because they want to keep all the business in their own. They're paying themselves, right? So they're discouraging people from going outside of the health system, or going outside of UPMC, or going outside of Allegheny Health Network, because they tier it. So they say, well, that's a tier 2 facility or a tier 2 provider. And it's, quite frankly, it's bullshit. But I can just tell you that the monopoly game of, and they've gone to war against one another. It's so corrupt. UPMC, I think it's funny. They call themselves a nonprofit organization.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And they're a multi-billion-dollar revenue generator, profit center every single year. It's, the insurance industry is a whole podcast in of itself.
If I needed a hip and I went to UPMC, you're saying a certain rate would be charged. But if I went to you, a higher rate would be charged. It's
tricky because like
they want you to go to there.
Not all UPMC insurance policies are the same. There are so many different policies out there, but we have contracts with all of the major payers. So Medicare, UPMC, Highmark, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, Very, very small percentage Medicaid in our practice. And Medicare, they kind of set the standards. That's the government. So they set the standard of what they're going to reimburse each practice for whatever procedure, say a total hip. They'll set a certain dollar amount. They'll say, if you do a total hip on a Medicare patient, this is what we will reimburse your practice. This is what we'll reimburse the hospital. So there's what's called facility fees. That's what the hospital gets. It's significantly more than the professional fees. The professional fees are what the surgeon gets for physically doing the operation. So, and I'm not saying that the physicians do all the work, but they drive it, right? Like I've never seen a patient come to me because I do surgeries at a certain hospital. They come to the surgeon because they know who the surgeon is. Right. They've heard that, oh, you did my neighbor, you did my sister, you did my brother, my spouse. I trust you. They're not going, I trust UPMC. I want you to send me to a UPMC.
UPMC essentially provides the environment for the surgeon to work.
But not for me, because I go to a private hospital, physician-owned hospital.
Right.
So we take all payers, and you can have Highmark insurance and still go to UPMC. It just won't pay as well to UPMC as a UPMC insurance plan would.
So they deter. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would imagine there's not too many doctors in the area that said, I'm going to do it my way and create my own surgery center or...
So in Northwest Pennsylvania, kind of north of Meadville, we are the last of the Mohicans. We're the only private orthopedic practice. And I'm very proud of that, but it is extraordinarily challenging. It's so political. They try to squash us every year because they reduce our reimbursements every year while they increase what they pay the hospitals, the facility fees. So it's a way to try to force every single physician to become hospital employed. Because once they have you, then they enforce their non-compete. And then after 2 years, they give you this great contract, say, hey, Mike, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars. Year 3, though, they're like, oh, you're not as productive. That's what the hospital in Michigan was doing. You're losing us money. You're not as productive as you were. We're going to reduce your reimbursement on year 3. And by the way, if you try to leave, we have a non-compete that's going to prohibit you from practicing in a 50-mile radius. So you have to move your whole family.
You know, not to get political, but the one thing that this government is supposed to protect everybody from is monopolies. And I think that is a huge problem in almost every aspect in this country, from a small business owner to a doctor it's just monopolies are crushing us.
Yeah. And what it's doing to physicians, because it has swung the pendulum so far to the employment model, because these young graduates coming out, they say, oh my gosh, this looks great. Look at this contract. I'm going to get paid X amount of money. They don't realize that they just sold their soul to the devil, and that they're going to be locked into this contract, and they're literally going to have to pick up their family and move to a different geographic area and start all over with new patients, which is very challenging. Yeah. And then the insurance companies, and I don't even feel bad about beating them up, because it is the biggest scam in the world. They increase the deductibles that every patient, they increase the premiums that they charge patients every year. However, they decrease what they pay the physicians every single year.
Right. And the thing is I think probably everybody's, a regular person's perspective is, oh, poor doctors. I mean, you're making so much money compared to what they're making. But this is what I say, I'm sorry. They didn't give up a decade.
Yeah, plus.
All of their 20s. And they didn't graduate with minimum $250,000 in school loans.
Yeah.
So,
and then I mean, you got to talk about, like, every job has stress, but like the responsibilities, the obligations, the litigious people out there. If something doesn't go right, it had to be the doctor's fault. It couldn't be the fact that I was smoking, my diabetes was out of control, I was overweight, I was non-compliant with the doctor's instructions. So the physician burnout rate and the suicide rate right now of number one suicide rate in the country is physicians.
Wow.
We just took that spot this year over from the dentists. And of the physicians, 28.2% of physician suicides are orthopedic surgeons.
That's crazy.
Almost
probably
a third.
Have more of a higher death rate, I would assume.
Probably, but definitely a higher suicide rate, which just blew my mind when I saw that statistic.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I got out of police work. There's a high suicide rate in police work, and then just the life expectancy of police officers is 65 years old. Wow. 65 for all police officers.
Compared to the general population, that's
right.
Just ridiculous.
And everybody will say, well, there's the 22-year-old cop that gets shot, or they'll say a suicide, but that's not it. There's there's lots of police officers, and to only live an average life of 65, it's the stress.
I was going to say,
All cops have stress, and their hair turns gray at age 45. It's why I got out. I retired early. Thank God I got out
it
of it.
looks still non-gray. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. There's no dye up in here. I'm still good, man.
No just for men?
No, nothing. No, I'm good.
All right. Keep them coming. I think you got
All right.
one more business, right?
Yeah. So, well, the one is kind of personal. I have two more.
Okay.
So one maybe I think I have it here on my personal, but who are the mentors? Who did you surround yourself with that got you to this level? Because I know where you're from Townville.
Yeah.
Right. You're overachieving. You're winning, as Charlie Sheen would say. So I know you didn't do that on your own. I know you're smart.
Yeah.
But I know you didn't do that on your own. So pick out, say, 3, 4, 5 people that got you here.
First and foremost, my mom and my dad, right? Not in medicine. My mom was a beautician, had a private beauty salon in our house for over 50 years. My dad was a teacher at Meadville Junior High for 31 years and worked at Hannah Hardware's in Townville. So I didn't get the medical influence from them, but I got my work ethic and my grit and my determination and my perseverance from them. Professionally, Dr. Greg Coppola, who will also be a future podcast guest, I owe pretty much my entire desire to be a osteopathic physician to him, because I was planning to go to chiropractic
I
school.
remember him. We played basketball with him when you lived with
Family
him.
First.
Yep. Yeah.
And then let's see here. My mentors in residency, Dr. Christopher Nigerian, Dr. Dennis Kelly, and then my fellowship director, Dr. Adolph Lombardi. He was the one that taught me so many valuable lessons in terms of like, there's no job that is too mundane or small for me to do, right? And efficiency. So if I want to maintain an efficient operating room, like I have to be able to mop the floor, change the sheets on a bed, move a patient over. Don't look at it as like that's beneath me. And that will also gain a lot of respect from your team, and they'll work harder for you when they realize that you're doing the small stuff that maybe even some of them wouldn't want to necessarily do. I mean, I was scrubbing toilets in my office last week because I take pride in that kind of stuff, the way that things look, the way that things present, because it's my baby.
Absolutely. It's funny, I go off on a little sidetrack here, but I always thought of a business idea. I think there should be an app that rates businesses' bathrooms. Because if you can't keep your bathroom clean, what does it look behind the restaurant doors or the surgery room?
Yeah.
I take pride in the restroom. At every business I have, it is spot and clean.
Same. That's a great thing. I mean, I've never thought about it that way, but like it's very visible, right? Now, granted, you don't have the doors open, but when you go in there, if it's sloppy, if there's paper towels on the floor, I always teach my boys that too. I was like, if you see a paper towel on the floor in a restroom, even if it's a gas station restroom, pick it up.
I mean, if you go
leave
out,
the world a little bit better than how you found it.
If you go out and have a good steak dinner and you walk in and the bathroom is disgusting, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, what's happening in the kitchen, right?
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the last business question I have is, do you anticipate expanding out of hips and knees, or just sticking with that forever? Where do you?
So we already have. I don't do anything personally other than hip and knee replacement. Dr. Frendeck, same as me, but we've added Dr. Carl Sion and Dr. Daniel Milam, sports medicine experts, shoulder experts, knee experts in kind of the sports medicine world, ligamentous reconstruction, rotator cuff surgery, shoulder replacement, reverse shoulder replacement.
Like ACLs for the athletes?
Absolutely, yeah. But I don't personally do that. But yeah, I mean, when I first started Whole Health in 2018, for the first 3 years, we strictly did 2 operations: hip replacement, knee replacement. And since then, we've more than doubled our size of all the employees. I started with 14 employees. Now I have 31 or 32. And we do pretty much everything other than spine surgery and some more complex like foot and ankle stuff.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want me to go into the personal
Yeah,
questions?
do the personal stuff.
All right, so I already asked you one of them. I was asking, I know where you're from. Where did you get the confidence and the intelligence to put you where you're at now? So I already answered that. I asked you that one. I asked you who. I think I did them all. I asked you who were your mentors along the way, and then where do you see yourself professionally and personally in 10 years from now? How old are you now right now?
Be 45 next month, a couple weeks.
So where do you see yourself?
I mean, I think it all really depends upon where your kids are at in life, right? So Luca is 8, our youngest, so he'll be 18. So probably a senior in high school, getting ready to go to college. So I'll be here in Erie, Pennsylvania, at least unless something catastrophic were to happen, practicing orthopedic surgery, hopefully growing the practice. And my goal is to continue to do professionally what I do now, but to do it better every single year than I did the previous year. Personally, I'm all about personal growth. I'm all about taking care of myself and making myself better. So personal health. I love to travel. My wife and I, Karen, we love to travel. We like to, experience different cultures. That's a thing that I want to teach and provide for our boys. We are going to try to do like a relatively big kind of foreign travel experience at least every year, if not every 2 years. We went to Italy for 2 weeks last year. We're going to Greece next summer. And I just like to expose them to that because I think it's a huge part of education for them to see that it's not just how it is here in Northwest Pennsylvania.
Right.
So yeah, those are the main things that I want to do. And, I don't have a lot of personal hobbies other than like, I like to play golf. I don't play as much as I'd like to. I like to tinker. I like to build things. I like to design things. And I'm always looking for like little offshoot businesses. When Bill Spiros, my attorney, was on here, he said, I think you have like 15 LLCs or maybe more. Because I have all these other businesses that kind of like you. Most people think I'm just an orthopedic surgeon, but that's like the tip of the iceberg for me.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah. Cool.
So turn the tables.
Turn the tables.
So again, I've known you for very close to 30 years. Like you said, probably 10th grade for you, which would have been, what, 7th grade or so?
Yeah.
7th or 8th grade
you
for
were
me?
like 2 grades below me, yeah.
But who was your major influence for your first primary career, which was you were a police officer?
I remember when I was knee high, I was always saying that I told my mom I want to be a cowboy or a cop. That's what I told her. And,
I see you're wearing cowboy boots.
Yeah,
So.
I got my cowboy boots on. When I got out of high school, if she didn't push me, my mom, Amy, if she didn't push me into police work, she kind of was like, well, I'm scheduling you to go to the police academy. And I went to Edinburgh for criminal justice. If she didn't do that, I don't know what I would have done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like knew I wanted to be a cop, but then how to do it, she forced it. She pushed it. And then I actually went to Tiffin University in Ohio for criminal justice. I transferred back. I was homesick. Believe it or not, I got homesick. But I come back to Edinburgh for my sophomore year. And then I took the police academy in the summer. And I actually didn't complete my degree because I got hired. Girard, I got hired in Girard as a police officer first. And then Erie police called me in 1999.
Wow. And I'm not gonna waste another question. I mean, it's my podcast. I can control this, but so I'm gonna focus kind of on your police career first.
Yeah.
You did that for close to 20 years. An incredibly stressful job, incredibly demanding job. As you mentioned, the life expectancy of a police officer is significantly lower than the general population. What were some of the things that, if you had to say this was my favorite part of the job, and on the side, the opposite side of that, what was the least favorite part of being a police officer?
Well, I loved being a police officer. I was a cop right at 21 years old. I think I went into it, some people go into it for the authority, the power. Maybe there was something subconsciously that everybody likes that, I guess. But I went in it to help people. On TV, you see the police officers always like helping people out. And
were you a big Cops fan growing up?
Yeah,
The show.
Yeah, I like that. And but I got in, and I really loved the job for 5 years. I loved it. I worked third shift, running and gunning. It's just crazy. It's crazy what in Erie. It's crazy what happens after dark. The regular civilians, you guys have no idea.
Different world, right?
I always said that we were the shepherds and you guys were the sheep, and like I've seen behind the curtain. So it was like in the Wizard of Oz looking. It's scary what goes on out there.
Yeah.
But I loved it for 5 years. But it got to the point where, this is kind of negative, but you don't really help anybody. You're basically babysitting the lower end of the society, And I don't think race has anything to do with crime. I think it's all poverty. Poor people commit crimes. of the people that do commit the crimes. There's always drugs and alcohol involved in it. And I don't know. It just, you got to the point where I was arresting the same people over and over and over again. And I wanted to do more, and help people. And I realized I wasn't helping anybody. I was just responding to calls.
So you loved it for 5 years. You did it for almost 20 years. So that means 15 years. Did you dread it? Were you like, I don't want to go to work today? Or
I dreaded it. I mean, I'm also very entrepreneurial. I want to make money. So, I mean, I always had little side off things. I used to make cornhole boards for money. I did start buying real estate when I was 25, but I just wanted to make more money. And, I worked a ton of overtime. I made good money as a police officer, but if you're an employee, you're never, sorry, your employers are going to hear this, but you're never going to get rich, ever. As an employee, you have to start a business. You'll never get rich as an employee.
Yeah. So I guess when was it that you decided, because did you do the 20 years for pension purposes? Were you kind of like the whole time thinking, I'm going to get out of this as soon as I can? And at that point, what was your next game plan? Like, what was your next venture?
Well, I started my first, it'd be my second, because I was buying real estate all along. I was buying duplexes and houses in the city. But in 2014, I met one of my business partners, Matt Bauer, one of my mentors that really taught me a lot about business. And we started a business together. And by the time I retired, it was costing me way more money to go to work than not to go to work, because I was just making so much money in my other business. And that, I stayed long enough. When people talk about starting a business, I would never quit, start a business. I would start the business as a hobby. And when you're making enough money that it doesn't make sense to go to work, then you should start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how I operate, as a conservative way to.
Yeah, you kind of phased into it.
Phased into it, yeah.
And was that the credit repair portion
sort
of
it? We're in the credit industry. We help businesses build credit, repair credit, get loans, things like that. And it's the finance industry, budgeting. It's all the stuff that schools should be teaching people that we help people.
Was that, if I remember from your kind of CV, was that 2014 that you started that?
Yeah.
And then 16 you retired from being a police officer.
Yep. Yeah, I did that. I worked my business for 2 years after, and then finally I retired in 2016. Yeah.
Okay. So. Is there anything you miss about being a police officer?
Nothing. I mean, driving fast. But I still have a cop plate. I love driving fast, but luckily, and not that a police officer can't write a ticket to another police officer, because they can and they do. But if it's a victimless crime, a lot of the
fraternal order of police license plates, right? It's kind of like
I got the FOP plates, and luckily, most cops don't write cops tickets unless there's someone getting harmed.
Okay, so my last kind of business question. Because now you've done multiple things. You started real estate in your early 20s. You were a police officer, I'm just going to say for 20 years. You started kind of a credit repair business in 2014. And then in 2022, you started a different venture. Can
1 year ago.
Share that?
Yeah, 1 year ago today, I started a...
Today?
1 year ago, September 28th was my 1 year.
Okay, wow.
I started a logistics brokerage. So we broker trucks. We bring a lot of all the produce pretty much that we eat, avocados, tomatoes, limes, it all comes from Mexico, Florida, and California.
Okay.
So I broker trucks to pick up that produce and bring it across. And
can you explain that just for our viewers and for me too? Like when you say you broker trucks, is that organizing? Like, hey, I'm going to get the tomatoes out of Florida. I'm going to get the oranges out of, California, wherever they comes from and where they're going. What does that mean, broker?
So the produce brokers, they're the ones that buy the produce, and then they need to get it from there to here. So I'm a truck broker. So I broker trucks. So my customers, I go find, like Walmart could be my customer.
Okay.
And they send me down to a house to get a whole truck of tomatoes and bring it up to Pittsburgh. And then it goes to one central place, and then that place sells it to all the country fairs and the sheets and that kind of stuff.
Got it. Because I just assumed that like Walmart just did all that internally, and because they've got all their Walmart trucks. So you could see a vehicle that's not a Walmart truck bringing produce from Florida that stuff could go to Walmart. Is that accurate?
That's what it does. I mean, I don't know the exact stats on it, but like 90% of all trucking companies have less than 5 trucks.
Wow.
So that means only 15% are own the trucks, you know. So there's subcontracted trucks. Just drive down the highway
Yeah.
and look at every semi. They're all different companies, little mom and pop companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, over the past year, has this been like what got you into that? Like, who was there a mentor? Was there an influence? And how have you enjoyed that last year?
It's been extremely stressful because my first business was very successful. I guess my second business. And, but I started all over again. And if you can imagine when you start a business, like I forgot the grind it took. And it's been an extremely challenging year. I just never quit. I like making money from a laptop. My wife and I go to the Caribbean twice a year. I love traveling. And in my other business, it's all finance. It's over the internet. I can do it from anywhere. So we were all set up for it. This is, you know, I can make money from anywhere. All I need is the internet. And that's what.
And you just work from home primarily?
Work from home, yeah. When I built an office at home, but yeah, I work from home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So personal stuff. All right. I know your wife, Jess, you have 3 boys.
Yep.
Joey, I'm going to call them by their names that I remember them as.
Yeah.
He probably goes by Joe now, but Joey, Mikey, and Nash.
Yep.
Can you give us their ages, kind of what they're doing, where they're at in life?
Yeah, Joey, my firstborn, he's 20 years old at Slippery Rock now. He's following his mother's footsteps. He's going to be a special ed teacher. He's got
That's awesome.
great temperament for it. I could never do that, but he's just like
my
his
wife
mom.
does too. So
Yeah.
the patience required, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I would not do well at that either.
Yeah. But I think he's going to be real good at that. Mikey's a senior at Mercyhurst. He's the captain of the soccer team. I'm very proud of that. And he's going to go into business and finance. So he's
kind of following in your footsteps.
Yeah, he's very ambitious. And, you know, you just look at him, you just know you got it. You're going to be successful, you know?
Now, is soccer in high school, is that a fall or spring sport?
It's a fall, but he plays for the club team. So it's all year round for him.
Got it.
And Mercyhurst is after him. So I'm hoping that he goes to Mercyhurst University. And
that'd be great, especially for you and Jess to be able to go watch a lot of local games.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And they've always had a very, very strong soccer program there. Actually, later this week, I have Mr. John Melody is going to be on my podcast.
Excellent.
Spent a lot of years as both the men and women's coach at Mercyhurst. When I was there, he was there. And then he's kind of like us. He's very entrepreneurial. Now he's a restaurant owner, owns all the You Pick Sixes. And
Nice.
I'm excited to hear his story. But
I love
what
his
about
restaurants.
Nash?
Nash, he's at Fort LaBeouf. He's going to be going to Mercyhurst next year, and he's
So what year is he then?
He's 8th grade, so he'll be going 9th grade. He loves hockey, soccer. He's a mixture of both boys. You know what I mean? He's just super smart, super ambitious, and he's just it's fun to be around him. He's a good dude.
Now, does he still like race go-karts and stuff like that?
Yeah, he races go-karts in the summer. Gosh, he's busy all the time.
Yeah. But that's good though. I mean, I feel like if these kids don't have these extracurricular activities, it's easy to get in trouble, especially or get on your devices, whether it's a phone or an iPad or something like that.
As a parent, that's what I've always said. Keep them busy. You know, the sports, you can always tell. Like when we would play in those 3-on-3s and you play against 3 kids that never played organized sports and it's just unbelievable. They couldn't handle losing. Remember that? Like the reactions a lot of those kids would give. And that's what sports really teaches. It teaches you how to win and it teaches you how to lose.
With composure. And grace, right?
Yeah.
Win with grace, lose with grace. That's what I tell my boys all the time. Like, you don't have to like losing. Trust me, I hate losing, but you got to be a good sport about it. And go up to your competition afterwards and give them credit if they beat you.
Yeah.
So, Jess, she's a special ed teacher. She's such a sweet lady. How did you guys meet?
So Jess and I met at Edinburgh University. We were at a party down there, SIGTAW party, and we met one night and just hit it off. And, you know, it doesn't work for everybody, but I met my wife. I moved her in 2 weeks later.
Whoa.
I proposed at 6 months, and I married her 1 year later. And and we were 23 or something. I'm not sure. We've been married like 21 years.
Was your place that you first lived together, was that the one in Cambridge Springs? Like,
yeah.
It was real close to like Riverside, right?
Yeah.
Like, just almost the same street, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, it was a little apartment right there, right next to the Riverside. And man, it seems like so long ago, but yeah, I got lucky there.
So what would you say? You kind of moved around. I think in your email earlier to me, you said you went to like 10 different schools kind of growing up. But what would you say was your favorite part about growing up in like the rural community of, say, Northwest Pennsylvania?
Well, I don't know. I love the country. And when I moved to the city at age 21 up to Erie, I love city people too, but I just think there's a big difference between, it's like country people, we all know our neighbors. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I moved to Erie on East 26th Street, over 933 East 26th Street, over by East Avenue, Jessica made lasagna, four pots of lasagna or bowl or whatever. And we took lasagna to the two neighbors to the right of us and two neighbors to the left of us. And, I remember the knocking on the door and they thought like, who are you? Like, you trying to break in or something? Or now we just moved in.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, man. I love how in the country, everybody knows your neighbors. You take care of each other.
Yeah. No, I would say the same thing. And I think and this isn't a slam to any people that grew up in the city. I mean, my wife grew up in Metro Detroit, much bigger than Erie, but there's a different mentality too in terms of like work ethic too. Like I grew up on a farm, right? So we were cutting our own wood. We were doing hay for the cows in the summer. My dad, General G, we were mowing the lawn 3 times a week.
3 times, if not 4. Gerald was tough on the grass.
If there was a blade out of place, it was like, all right, get out there and take care of it.
He was an old man way before he was an old man.
For
when
sure.
It comes to grass.
So the next thing that we always kind of do is the Sawbones shoe stretch, or I'm sorry, the 7th inning Sawbones shoe stretch. So it's kind of my little ode to baseball because all 3 of our boys play travel baseball, kind of break it up a little bit. But I always ask my guests to either wear a pair of their favorite shoes or boots, or a pair of shoes or boots that have like a very special story or meaning to them. So what are you kicking here?
So I got some cowboy boots from the old boot barn, and you know what it was is I kept seeing construction workers like PennDOT on the highways. I kept seeing them wear cowboy boots. I'm like, why are they wearing cowboy boots? Well, I didn't realize how dang comfortable they are. So I went up and tried a pair on. I mean, if you haven't tried on a pair of cowboy boots, I mean, like, look, the tops of them, I know they look kind of silly, but your pants cover them all the time, and they look just like my dress shoes. But they are, if you don't have a pair, they are the most comfortable shoe you will ever put on. I promise you that.
So that's what Ryan said when he was over here, and I was like, "There's no way. There's absolutely no way." And I mean, because they got the heel on there. I'm definitely not opposed to it. I kind of like the look too. I don't know if I could pull it off, but
you can do it. I mean, think about it. They're similar to dress shoes from here, aren't they?
Do they take a while to get broken in?
No, man.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, and they have all different kinds of style. You can get real flashy, or you can just get real plain.
How many pairs do you have?
I just have one. But there's a couple other pairs I'd like to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, try it. We're gonna put a pair of cowboy boots in your outfit.
Do they make Air Jordan cowboy boots?
They probably do.
That'd be pretty cool if they didn't.
What do you got on here?
So these are the Air Jordan 1 lows. These are the fuchsias. I chose this pair tonight because it's October. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I try to coordinate. You can see the shirt. It's a whole health shirt, but it's our breast cancer awareness one. So I'll put a little screenshot of the back of it because it's the whole health tree with pink leaves, pink breast cancer ribbon on the trunk, and just giving support out there to. One of our guests last week was Dr. Kimberly Masha. She's a breast cancer survivor. It's such a huge issue in our society, and I think awareness is the key, and making sure that women are doing local checks with their whether it's mammograms, self breast exams by themselves. And not just, and family history is one thing, but like you can be the first person in your family to have it. There's hormonal things with breast cancer receptors and things like that. So just being aware of it and spreading that word so that, because it's very treatable in the vast majority of cases too, kind of like testicular or prostate cancer is for a man. So, but yeah, just kind of giving a shout out for the month of October here. So
looks good.
So the next part is always one of my favorite parts. It's the Sawbones Challenge. So
Sawbones Challenge, okay.
So I have to ask one question because I know you had an elbow injury. Which elbow was it?
My left elbow right here.
Okay, and you're right-handed.
Yes.
So am I gonna get excuses from you?
No.
Okay, because what we generally do, I won't say always because we've mixed it up a little bit, but what we generally do is I would say 75% of the challenges have been us going outside and doing a 3-point competition.
Okay. I can still beat you like I always did, but I do have cowboy
Oh
boots
my
on.
goodness, folks, stay tuned. Sawbones Challenge coming up next.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
All right, everybody, Sawbones Challenge. This guy thinks he's going to beat me.
I'm going to.
And the rules are first to 5, you go first, I get the last chance, right?
All right. 1 by 1?
Yeah, 1 by 1.
No, like 1 by 1. I shoot one, you shoot one?
You shoot, I shoot.
This close to a brick.
Woo! 1-0, good guy. Here's in trouble. Ooh. Ah! I was supposed to.
You missed this one, you're in trouble. You.
What? One.
You'll vary this one. You always do good under pressure.
There it is. Oh!
You need triple rim.
Yeah, metal backboard, triple rims. The only thing that could have been.
Hey, it's mine to lose.
We'll take the garbage.
Over trophy.
Uh-oh. This could be game, folks. Game!
Just like old school.
Sawbones Challenge. All right, good job. So, hey, everybody. Welcome back after the Sawbones Challenge. Mike, I want to thank you again for just taking time out of your busy Sunday. I know that you had some hockey this morning that you were coaching. We've got football on. What do we got here? This is an unbelievable, ridiculous score. The Browns are beating the 49ers 13-10 with a little over 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, with their third string quarterback too, by the way. So it's kind of in the background. But, you asked me earlier, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I always ask my guests that as kind of like my final conclusion question. So where is Mike Burrows and Jess Burrows in 10 years from now?
Well, I think we're going to do the snowbird thing for sure. We'll probably have to keep a house up here, but we definitely want to move to a warmer climate.
Do you have a target? Do you have like a place that you really, really like?
Florida. We've talked about Florida, Arizona. I don't care. I travel anywhere. I don't know as if we'll actually buy a place. I think we'll just do a different place every year,
Okay.
But Carolina, somewhere. I just got to get my kids, 5 more years. Get my kids out of school, let them finish here, and then we'll see what happens,
But you would definitely still have a place up here.
Yeah, I mean, I love Erie in the summer. It's probably the best place in the whole country to be. In the summer for 80 days, I'll give it that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Even through September, the majority of the time, because September is really nice up here. But, it's already turned much colder than I thought it was going to this year. A couple weekends ago, we had unbelievable weather, but I think it's gone.
Yeah. Yep,
So.
it's time to pack it up for the winter. Winter is coming, as they say on Game of Thrones.
So my good buddy, and he got to get him on the podcast, Pete Theophilus. Have you ever met Pete?
I don't think I have.
So he is Karen's cousin's husband from Michigan, and it's always funny because we're usually with them 4th of July, and every year he does this. It'd be like 4th of July. He's like, "Well, summer's over." And I'm just like, "You are such a pessimist," but he's kind of true. Like I feel like once 4th of July hits, the rest of summer goes so quick.
Yeah, it does.
And the kids are getting ready to go back to school. But, buddy, thank you again for coming out. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And, we're obviously going to stay connected, continue our little hangouts with yourself and Ryan. And if people want to get in touch with you about any of your businesses, how would they do that?
I got a website, bnbcreditbuilders.com. That's like Bravo November Bravo bnbcreditbuilders.com.
And Jay's going to probably put that like right here on the screen.
If you need help with credit, or if you need help moving freight, logisticstrio.com.
Okay. So you've got a couple options out there. Love giving local shout out support to, small business owners, entrepreneurs like myself. And Mike, you're rocking it. You're doing great. I'm so proud of you. I mean, you've had a very decorated career. I'd like to thank you for your 20 years of being a police officer.
Thank you.
I know it was stressful the last 3/4 of that 20 years, but I don't think that the police officers hear that enough. And, there's all these movements, defund the police and this and that. It's just like, come on, seriously? Yeah. Like, you do that for like 1 week and let's see if you still think that.
Well, they tried it in Seattle. Didn't work out too good.
So thanks, buddy.
All right, man.
Stay tuned. Make sure that you share this with your friends. Subscribe. As always, too, if you have any questions, any comments, any guests that you'd like to see, requests, shoot them over to us. And again, thank you for all your support. Thank you for your viewership and the time that we spend together. And looking forward to seeing you next week. And stay tuned because we got the teaser for next week's guest coming up. So don't go anywhere. There's no internet at that point.
No internet. I mean, the phone was at the end of the dorm, and you couldn't get the
had
quarters
a cord attached to it.
Well, you couldn't get not even that. It was payphone.
Oh wow.
You couldn't get the quarters in the phone quick enough to keep the line open to Ireland. You know what I mean? So it was unique to say the least. But
you weren't calling your family collect.
They wouldn't accept the charges. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're like, don't want to talk to him. But
so when you opened John Russell Brewery or Brewing Company, you created this particular IPA. What's it called?
Pursue Your Happiness.
Well, that's what I got for you.
Did you actually go down and get some of that?
I did.
Did you? That was a shameless plug, wasn't it? Yeah. All right. Well, perfect.
Yeah. So I actually had my good friend and my chief operating officer, who Sean.
Yeah.
McKinnon.
Right.
He was helping me out, and I said I was in clinic today. I said I don't have time for this. So this is Pursue Your Happiness, and I didn't even know. He's like, all they have is crowlers. I'm like, what the heck's a crowler?
Yeah.
I was thinking a growler. Like a bottle. So was this filled just today then?
That was just filled straight from the draft system today.
And then they just put this.
Yeah, and it's sealed. So, that's probably good in your fridge. I mean, some people will say, a week or 10 days. I'm saying 4 or 5 days. It'll be fine in 4 or 5 days.
Oh, so we need to drink this.
Yeah, I mean, we're not leaving till that's all gone. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that special bunch of guys there. I mean, that was, played in a national semi-final in
Elite Eight?
No, Final Four.
Oh.
Yeah. Final Four, 1998.
So that was my sophomore year.
Yeah. Beaten by not Wisconsin, but beaten by South Carolina, Spartansburg. We had, what I think a lot of what I'm proud of with that team is we started, Spartansburg, who beat us, started 10 foreigners. They had 1 American on the field.
Wow.
We had 3 foreigners. We had 8 Americans start that night, and they were exceptional.
I have loved some fishing in the outdoors where I'm free. It's where I spent my time before I hurt my hip and my knee. When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, they saw bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. I wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, they saw bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.